no, totally not worth it, man.
Nope,
And
not worth it.
it's wide open for season 3, and I hope that never comes out.
Hello and welcome to the bottom of the internet. This is another Dead Pixel. My name is Nick, and I'll be your host for the proceedings. Here with me tonight, it's the man that sold you toilet paper off the back of a truck during the pandemic. It's Joe. Joe, how you doing tonight?
We've already talked about the whole toilet paper pandemic thing. I didn't have to worry about it because I had
You
the
already had
bidet.
bought all of it?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we really didn't nah, man. I was the guy who hoarded things before the pandemic happened. And then while everyone was freaking out, I was just like, yeah, the prepper lifestyle really paid off for me, man.
How much did you mark up the toilet paper before you sold it to people?
Oh, dude, what are you talking about? You don't sell it to people. You hold on to that shit, literally, because you're just like, you need to make sure that when the whole world, it's like when the apocalypse happens, you need to have cases of that in your attic. And so therefore you'll be safe. Toilet paper is going to be one of the first things because you realize books only can go so far.
Okay. Yeah, those have other uses too. Okay, so you're just gonna deny that you ever scalped toilet paper to people? Like, okay, that's fine.
I did contemplate my GPU at one point, though. I'm like, wow, I can sell this GPU for the entirety of my build. But no,
I thought you were
can't.
talking about using your GPU as toilet paper. I was like, dude, that's not really very smart.
It's like people who buy a console and smash it in day one right in front of the line waiting for it, right? This GPU is shit, literally. Yeah.
I remember that reminds me of a Tosh.0 scene where I think that when the
iPad 1.
When the iPad 1, the first iPad came out, they sent it to him and he was like, he'd been talking about it, saying it was stupid, I think. And they sent it to him for free and he recorded himself destroying it.
He stands it, if I remember correctly, he stands it up on the conference table, hits it with a golf club, just tees off with it, just completely just right, and he goes, and he's like, I didn't even turn it on. And he's like, some nerd out there probably just had a heart attack.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's an early Tosh.0. Jeez, man.
Yeah, that's one of the ones I remember though. Oh man. So besides that, how are you doing tonight?
Doing pretty good. Yeah, things are going smoothly. I mean, we're getting ready for the holiday season coming up here around the corner. So yeah, early shout outs to some of my friends and family out there having birthdays coming up. My little girl, her birthday is coming up. Good buddy of mine. I'm just gonna I'll out him, Kenny. Yeah, he just had his birthday. So yeah, a lot of people. The fall time is, I guess, people get bored in the spring and then they just get busy. And then come fall, just all the babies come out because I have at least 10 friends who have October, November birthdays. It's kind of crazy. That and their moms too, like their parents, like all this family, just nothing but birthdays in October, November. So
yeah, I mean,
and then for me, all my family seems to kick it in December. So
like they die.
Yeah, I have it's December is a pretty much a downer for my family, but there's not many of them left, so it's okay.
You don't have to worry about that for much longer. Okay. Anyway, I'm doing good too, and no, I've already next week's Thanksgiving, and I've already been to 2 Thanksgivings. We actually had 2 yesterday. One for work. We had an employee Thanksgiving. And the VP, the head of our department or our section of the company, he made 3 deep fried turkeys and seasoned them.
Jeez.
And it was really awesome. So there's plenty of turkey, and they got brisket and ham and stuff like that. So it was along with the other fixings and stuff. So that was really cool. And then so that was for literal lunch. And then later that day, this church group I'm a part of, they decided to have their Thanksgiving dinner on the same time. So I was enlisted. I was drafted to make my famous sweet potato casserole. So I made that and brought that over, and everybody made some dishes. So I had two Thanksgiving dinners in one day. I was very full at the end of that day, but it was pretty awesome. And then gonna have real Thanksgiving hopefully next week. But gonna go visit some friends or some friends of friends rather. Do you guys? How do you guys do Thanksgiving? Do you guys go all out for it or kind of low key?
Generally low key because we're away from friends and family. Most the few friends that are within driving distance is like we're talking about 3 hours or so.
Yeah,
But they usually end up spending it with their families, and so yeah, that's like our friend, especially since my wife got stuck having to work Black Friday this year just because her company needs a few people on staff, and she's relatively new at that. At her, it's a new job for her, and so she's like, "Yeah, couldn't use a floating holiday because everyone else already claimed it." So
uh,
we kind of drew that short straw. So some of the other family like, "You should drive up and visit us," and I'm like, "I'm not driving like 6 hours just to." Do a couple hour stint with two small children in the car. I'm like, no, you can. I told them before no, and then they're like, yeah, you should do it. I'm like, no,
it's easy for you
you
to
guys can
say.
just burn.
It's like it's really freaking hard for me. Like, yeah, that's just too much. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that like I've worked at companies where they did not have the day after Thanksgiving as a holiday. They had like a floating holiday or whatever that you could take off, but you couldn't do like some other part. But the place I'm at right now, they just make think the day after Thanksgiving a holiday. Like I don't know, like whatever they do to make that happen, but they make that happen, and that's like the best thing because it's like there's you're not gonna go to Thanksgiving and then come back to work the next day. It just doesn't make sense. Like
Yeah.
Black Friday is pretty much its own holiday.
Well, luckily my wife's job, they're like, well, you can like she just went ahead and she's like, could I use that floating holiday for my anniversary? It's like not a really official holiday, but it'd be nice. And they're like, yeah, sure. So they were at least able to work that out because if you don't use your floating holidays by end of year, you lose them. So
Yeah.
they're cool about that. And yeah, it's just, I've had other jobs where they like my last one did not give us Christmas Eve off. They're like, nah. It was a Japanese company, and the second in charge of the building, she's an American, but she's like, I'm not Christian, so I don't care. It's like we're like, wow, not even like taking Christianity out of it. Like
Wow.
people like to travel and spend time, and generally as a whole, like people have that time off. So it's kind of nice to just spend time with family. It doesn't matter what religion you're on, but like
I
for that to be
mean,
your excuse.
I
And then
mean,
they'd go, oh yeah, here's Columbus Day off. And we're like, what?
like Christmas Eve, I get that it's not actually Christmas and blah blah, but like you need to give you need to give at least a half day for Christmas Eve because like the whole country shuts down for 24 hours at least. You need to have a chance to go get any last groceries, any extra gas, whatever you need before you really cannot get anything for a full 24 hours because like everything, I don't know about where you are, but it feels like every single thing is shut down that you could actually need, except for emergency services, which you don't want to have to use. But yeah, I think Christmas Eve is also another one of those where it's like, yeah, this one kind of needs to be at least a couple hours extra that you get to go um, and
Yeah.
have some
Don't
time.
worry though. It's on a Saturday this year, so fun. Uh,
Yeah. Anyway, so that's enough about our judgments on the correct holidays to take. Um, Besides that, I'm doing pretty good. You got anything else cool you want to share with everyone?
nothing to beat your deep fried, turkeys. I mean, my company went ahead and uh, the VP just bought a Serrano ham or lamb or like the Serrano leg of lamb, I think it is,
Yeah.
from Costco. So just it's if you ever seen it, just giant hunk of meat. It's essentially what prosciutto is made out of, and then we
Okay.
just a giant knife, and we're just cutting away at work. We all kind of took turns throughout the day just to slice off a bit for for the office and continued to, after work, we just all just got really drunk. It was
Yeah.
pretty good.
That's that's a real employee Thanksgiving right there.
uh,
Just
yeah, it was just
pork
that's
and
just like a normal Friday.
just pork and beer. That's all you really want.
But yeah, no, it was that was pretty nice. And yeah, I don't know, man. I haven't had a deep fried bird since Korea, and the farmers markets used to have that. So you sit down there and get some alcohol at your picnic table, and they just be like, yeah, just give me a whole deep fried chicken, and you and your friends would just dig into it and be like, man, this makes me feel disgusting. Let's order two more and a whole new round of drinks.
Yeah, I think I've had one before, but I think it was just served to me and no one made it like a thing about it. In fact, I'm almost positive I have, but this one was really well seasoned, with like some kind of Creole seasoning on the outside. It was really good. So I definitely will be having some more if I get a chance.
Cool,
But
cool.
go ahead.
Yeah. So, all right, no, I'll let you take it away with the news, man.
Yeah, man. So I don't have too much news. I mean, there's some stuff, but not all of it seems very important to me. So I kind of just picked through some things that I thought were interesting. Not too long after our last podcast 2 weeks ago, this was on November 9th that this news kind of broke. Um, Mick Gordon, who did the soundtrack for Doom Eternal, and I think maybe the first Doom reboot, but I can't be sure. But anyway, he definitely did the soundtrack for Doom Eternal. He came out with a statement about some of the wrongs as he perceived them that were stated about his work on the soundtrack. So I didn't really know about this. I kind of heard about it, but I didn't. I wasn't really keeping up with video game news as well as I am now back then. But back in 2020, when Doom Eternal came out, there's a big kerfuffle with the soundtrack. Do you remember any of that was going on at the time?
So wasn't that there was a all right, now I might be completely off the mark. I thought there was someone who, a third party person or something like that, who wasn't getting paid their full rights or what they were supposed to be getting paid. I believe that was some sort of issue.
Yeah, that would be Mick Gordon. So a lot of this has kind of already been alleged and said before, and he just came out with I think Video Games Chronicle said it was 14,000 word document on his side of the story, and to read it, I did poke through it a little bit, and it is legit. It is a legit, like, almost a legal testimony type of document with how detailed and precise it is. But anyway, so back in 2020, Doom Eternal comes out, and people are pissed about the soundtrack because I tried to look up the before and after, but I couldn't really find anything on the surface level of Google or YouTube that showed exactly how bad it was. But apparently it was very poorly mixed and finished out. So a lot of people were mad and they said stuff, and then the director there at id, he basically threw Mick Gordon under the bus. He has a big long Reddit post about it that I didn't read, but apparently he kind of throws him under the bus, and so Mick Gordon has come out with his document, kind of trying to set the Reddit record straight. The long and short of it, sort of, is that he kind of explained how being paid to make music works. So basically, when you when you make music, let's say you make 10 minutes of music, and the company that is paying you decides to only use 5 minutes of that music, then you get paid for 5 minutes of music that actually makes it in. So that's the deal. He's fine with that. It's just, you're just not gonna be happy with everything that you make. So that's the way it goes. Um, so Mick Gordon said that he made the music for the game, and then it was butchered in the editing by another engineer that he didn't even know was working on it um, at the same time, and then so whenever it came out, he was like kind of mad about that, but also he noticed that the whole soundtrack was like 4 hours and 20 minutes or 4 hours and so many minutes, but he had only been paid for 2 hours and 20 something minutes worth of music. So he was like, I have not been paid for a bunch of music that you guys ended up using. Part of the contract is I get paid for that. Um, so that's kind of part of it. He also says that he was offered six figures. I don't think he went into exactly or he got much closer than that, but somewhere in the six figures um, amount of money he was offered to keep his mouth shut and not to discuss any of his side of the story after the director at id kind of threw him under the bus. So I guess I don't know if he took that money. I would assume not if he's talking about it now, because I imagine that would have been that money would have come with a big fat NDA. But anyway, so I thought it was pretty interesting. It's definitely a really good insight into how the music side of video games works. And I was kind of just glad to see somebody kind of lay it out in a very methodical format rather than just like three tweeted photos of an essay or something like that. So anyway, it was definitely interesting. But have you like have you heard anything more, or do you remember anything more about that time?
No, like I said, it wasn't until you just mentioned it, I'm like, that's why it was so hazy. I'm like, I kind of remember this going down originally, and about the whole mixing issue and debacle, and like it was ugly, but I couldn't even remember the outcome, to be honest. So it was just like it was just hot news for a little bit, and then it kind of went away, and so I yeah, I just completely slipped my mind.
Yeah.
So, yeah, unfortunately, I wish I was more knowledgeable on this matter, but I'm
Yeah,
not.
I think that is kind of what happened is like because the YouTube videos I was looking at from 2 years ago were kind of saying what what Mick Gordon ended up saying officially later or just now. They were kind of like using conjecture and I guess rumors to sort of already get a good part of the picture. So I don't know. I'm kind of wondering if maybe there's some kind of legal action that he had to go through. And of course that always takes a long time before he could officially speak out or what. Anyway, so that's kind of a kerfuffle. I'm kind of I think the thing that really triggered me on it was I saw a Reddit post from Bethesda, I believe, where they it's like a picture and it's kind of nice font, but it's just a picture of a paragraph. And they kind of say what Mick Gordon is saying is not what we represent, blah blah, corporate speak. So I was like, I'm not even gonna read that. But I was like, I was wondering. I'm wondering, well, okay, so what did he say? So I started digging. But anyway, we'll continue to monitor that situation and probably talk about it again in some one of our end of the year categories. I think it might be a candidate for biggest shit show, but you never know. Okay, so anyway, moving on. This next story is a bit different. Volition is planning to become part of Gearbox. Apparently, in light of the disappointing reception that the new Saints Row received. I don't really know. I don't really know exactly why they would need to become part of Gearbox, but that seems to be the reasoning, is that they were not happy with how Saints Row performed, and so they're going to. I guess they're being bought out, or they're working on a deal to where they could get more funds for their next projects. But they're going to do that and I mean, I think it's kind of weird. Like I thought Saints Row was good. I thought it was fine. Um, I didn't dislike really any part of it. I had fun, but I guess maybe it was more expensive to make and maybe didn't sell as well as they wanted.
Yeah, I know their pre-release stuff wasn't they didn't come out swinging really well on the marketing beforehand. Uh, I've mentioned how I've had some serious jank with the multiplayer and some of the main campaign stories, where like but then again, I'm playing on hardware it probably shouldn't even be on. It's like
Yeah,
they should have probably made it a quote unquote current gen only, because I'm still playing it on PS4, and it wasn't really optimized for that at all. So I can see that being it's kind of on me for that. And you know what? It's fine. I still had fun playing it. It was just I did not finish it. I don't know if I'm ever actually going to finish it, or at least no time soon. Hopefully, if the multiplayer starts working, then I'll be glad to jump back in on that. Uh,
so the article.
Gearbox, I guess, of all the people to partner or to be with, I think that's a good fit though. They got similar aesthetics when it comes to humor and over the top pop culture referencing, and uh, yeah, I think there's most definitely worse groups to be working with. I mean, the only one better might be is if they were able to like team up with like Devolver, but Devolver's so unique in a lot of ways. I mean, so
Yeah, yeah. That's a really good point. I didn't think of Gearbox is right up their alley. They are kind of making. They're already kind of making sort of similar type humor games and stuff. The only thing that I kind of wonder about is like Gearbox really hasn't made anything that I would consider good in a long time. The new Borderlands, that was that good? Did that just come up and go away, or that's kind of the feeling I got from it? And then
Borderlands 3, I knew enough people who played it, and but I know that there's that spin-off, the new Tiny Tina, I can't remember which. There's two different D&D themed ones. One was for the prior game, and then
mm,
they had their own spin-off for the newer one. I think it was I think that one might have been Tiny Tina's Wonderland.
oh, okay,
Uh, and so that looked neat. I was interested in it, never got around to it. But then again, Randy Pitchford's such a very not such a good face for the company. So it's kind of hard to be associated with anything like you don't really want that as your face of your company. Uh,
he loves medieval
you know,
times.
yeah, for sure, right?
That's
And
for sure.
magic. Loves that
He
magic.
loves.
Uh so yeah, that's the thing. So I think I don't know, you can do fun crossover stuff, and usually Volition was very self-aware with in Saints Row about the things that made them funny, or so the next Saints Row, if they ever, they'll make a new game, and then you'll have Claptrap in it. Sure. You know.
Yeah,
Uh
yeah, that'd be fine. I mean, yeah, you could mix and match and have some cameos and stuff like that. Yeah, I hope that they do make another one, and kind of maybe someone can throw a bit more money or know-how behind it, and they can get a good funny story out of it. Because I think everything else is pretty much is good, is fine. The gameplay and stuff was good, and really the story wasn't bad. But maybe something with a bit more meat might be good. But anyway, so that's it for the news on Volition. But I think you had something that you wanted to share with us as well.
oh yeah. Well, I mean, the new 4080s just came out. So, the new NVidia RTX 4080 graphics cards, uh, everything that came out about them, all the reviews and such, are saying they're solid cards. The only problem is it's really hard to look past that price, that premium,
1200.
you know, yeah, $1,200 price,
Yeah.
and because of that, if you're comparing it to, uh, the 3080, 3090, this it's holding its own really well. It's a great uh specs, stats alone. It's still a beefy size card. It's like the same size as the 4090.
Right.
Uh, runs less power, runs actually a lot of tests are showing it's running less power than the 3080 actually. So the 4080 is running less power on average. It's running cooler because it's a 3 slot, or at least the Founders Edition is a
So
3 slot card design.
I thought the whole thing with these cards is that they were supposed to be power hogs and run with like a lot more power. But you're saying it's actually running with that this 48 is running with
It has
less.
so it comes with the warning. It's like, yeah, this is your normal specs, but under load, it's showing a lot of tests are showing that it's actually running pretty decent. Um, so it's
Okay.
despite it having that upper limit that it could hit, it's not really pushing it right now. And
Okay.
yeah, you're running able to run things really confident. The only problem is when you're looking at the price jump between like a 3080 and the 4080, when you're looking at percentages wise, you're like, well, it's like, and how much you're getting for your dollar. You might as well spend an extra 400 to get the 4090, and you'll be getting,
Uh,
it's like 20. I'm gonna get the numbers wrong. It's like 20% more um, uh, price for like 30 plus more percent performance. So
really? So
you're
they've
getting
okay.
so it almost in hindsight makes the 4090 look like a better deal. But after looking at all these numbers and you realize that canceled 4080 that are the unreleased one,
Hmm.
that like, yeah, that was a smart move on them because they were really going to shoot themselves in the foot otherwise. um no, there's nothing bad about this card I've heard so far except for the price. I mean, so everyone seems to be really happy about it, just the price is terrible.
I kind of
So
wonder if they finally figured out, hey, like we can get people to jump and buy our most expensive card if we price this 4080 at a place where it's just like, well, I may as well, and it's really not as good. I get more bang for my buck if I jump up to the most expensive card. I think they just know that people will
it's a
pay.
little bit of that, but I mean, the problem is they're selling these cards at pandemic prices,
Yeah.
and it's like the pandemic isn't like that. Those situations aren't here like they were before.
I mean,
Uh,
it's a
the
bet.
mining, yeah,
It's a bet, but that they're making a gamble, and we'll see. But I kind of hope that they're wrong, and that for our sake in the future that they're wrong, and that people are not going to buy these cards in the numbers that they are hoping. Though if there is a good time to do this for them, it is right now after the market has been starved and people have been waiting and waiting and waiting. How many people are going to be like, I just like I have the money and I've been waiting so long for a new card. I just want a new card, and they're going to go out and get it. But that's what I'm hoping. AMD's card will be not a disaster. It'll be at least good or worth the money, or the a good price, or a good value for price. So yeah,
I think
it's too much. It's
it
too much
depends.
for me.
It's all everyone's use case is going to be different. I think for the average gamer who doesn't necessarily need the most elite and top tier, I mean, AMD is going to provide you a very good option. Uh, if you have a 30 series card, there's pretty much no need for anyone to upgrade to the 40 series unless if there's a specific key feature that new card specifically that you need. Or but for the average person, like myself, I'm not going to upgrade, and I might, my wife's system has that 790 in it, so but she's only running two
970.
1080p monitor.
It's a 970,
Uh, I'm
790.
sorry. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, 970,
Yeah.
not 790. I had the 780 back in the days, but yeah. Um,
Yeah, those
so
ones.
yeah, that's no the 970. I'm sorry. That card is long in the tooth, but it's doing exactly what we need it to do, and we're not really the games that she plays. We're not really too graphics intensive, and she doesn't really care. But I would like to upgrade her to something else. But if anything, I might just I'll have to do a whole new system at that point, and
Yeah.
I might just do an old, like someone's used 30 series card and just be done with it, you know.
Yeah, I think where you just want to get is 4K 60. Uh, and beyond that, I mean, there's always people who are going to want, 120, 240 hertz. But to me, I think 4K 60 is like, if you can get a card that can handle that, then that's really, as a gamer, all you really need for this generation. Uh,
I still think 4K is unnecessary. I'm running 1440, and you can run that at 120, 144 hertz, and that's great.
yeah,
I'm loving my. I mean, yeah, 4K is nice, but it depends if like what you have. Then you have to worry about the display. Honestly, I think the next series of cards, um, because you'll have the new display port, you'll have the new like in hopefully the new AMDs have the new display ports in them, but can they actually push it to the limit of actually needing that? Probably not, is my guess.
you
So
mean
it's not
like to
until the next
8K and
series of
stuff?
cards 2 years from now.
Like
Was that?
you mean like to 8K and stuff?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's well 8K or the 4K at higher refresh rates.
uh,
That's the really or and also the color.
mm,
The higher bit rate color for the color scheme. Like you're better off. If you're really concerned about all that, then yeah, the next generation of cards are the way to go
it's
because
always,
then all the monitors are also because not all monitors have even upgraded to the HDMI 2.1 yet. So you can't really optimize on a lot of that. So it's just like I feel like everything's just a little laggy, a little bit behind. Um, and yeah, so it's expensive to upgrade all that crap, man.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, it's insanely, that's the game. That's how they get you. But
I mean,
yeah,
I have coincidentally I have a 4K TV, but it's a couple years old. I can game on it just fine with my current, 3080. Uh, but I can't do anything, like, and it can't be pushed that much farther. But my TV doesn't go that far, so it doesn't matter. So I'm good, you
yeah,
know. And then I have my monitor, my which I said 1440, and that does just fine. So I'm good. I honestly don't have to worry about much else, and that's why that 970 for the old computer, it still does
good.
two 1080.
1080 does good. Yeah, it does. I still have that card. It's fine. It's not gonna blow your socks off, but like on older games especially, it does really well. But yeah. Anyway,
All right.
we'll see how that goes. I'm really not impressed um, with NVIDIA's offerings this time around, just because of the price. I'm just like, it's just so much money. Um, but
Yeah, Jensen saying Moore's Law is dead is a great way to kind of prep the audience to be like, hey, stuff is going to be more expensive because we're making it more expensive,
yeah,
and deal with it. So
fucking deal
I
with
think
it.
pretty much,
Yeah.
yeah. All right.
All right.
So I guess since you're talking about old games, I'll kick us off with what we've been playing. So I recently, I think it was last month, uh, PlayStation offered Super Hot as one of their free games, and I had like an hour and a half to kill, 2 hours. So I just jumped in and start to finish, just completed it, and it's a great game. I love it. Uh, though I don't know if I talked about it on here before. I know I've spoken about the game many a times, both the VR and the expansion.
Yeah, I think last time you talked about it was about a year ago, and it was about the expansion. Yeah, not the regular
So
game.
what they did is I realized when I was updating some stuff from my PlayStation that Superhot got an update. I'm like, oh, interesting. And it was really weird because they updated it to cut out. They actually edited their own game as a censorship kind of thing, where they any scenes that might indicate you doing harm to yourself, they removed. And I was like, wait a minute, that's really really weird. They have a little like patch note saying, you know essentially, "We're sorry. This is unnecessary. We should do better, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, it seemed to come out of flipping nowhere, and I looked it up and, apparently it had been patched for a while. I just hadn't updated my, console, and I was just like, there was no indication of why they did this. It almost seemed like, I hope this isn't the case, but, like, maybe someone in their, a part of the development team had someone who, like, unfortunately had, like, a tragic end or something like that, in which it made them rethink their, evaluation of the game. Because the whole concept is, like, in the original Superhot is, like, they tell you a little bit, it's a meta, but it's like, like, your mind is software and the body's not real, and it's very much a Matrix-esque kinda concept, or very, those old, cyberpunk, you know, thoughts. And it's really, to the point where you see yourself in game, but you're not really the person you think you are, and you can literally hop your mind between bodies. So, I don't know, just for them to have, like, there's a point in the VR game where, in order to exit this area, you have to exit the game, but there's no way to do it, so you shoot yourself, essentially, is what it is. And it was like, that was a neat thought, because it's like, "Wait, is this right? Am I weird for thinking this?" And I don't know, it kinda made the game what it was. It was just, but by changing those aspects, or, like, one of them is you have to walk, like, they kinda do a couple scenes like that. And I don't know, just it seemed really weird for them to censor themselves that way without a better explanation, of other than, "We need to do better." And, like, it wasn't, like, a huge backlash, because it was years after the fact that it came out. So, like I said, I tried looking it up, couldn't find anything else on it, but the original game, I still love it. It was, if you have an hour and a half, 2 hours to kill, you very doable. It's a fun puzzle action game, and yeah, it's just, I it's a quick fix, and I like going back to it, apparently, about once a year. So,
The annual replay of Super Hot.
I mean, yeah, it's just like, fall season, right? And then comes Die Hard for Christmas. So, uh,
Yeah.
I mean, you reenact the die in the you reenact the elevator scene, from Die Hard 3. So, in Super Hot.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember Die Hard 2 or 3,
3's
but
with Samuel L. Jackson.
yeah, yeah, I don't think I ever saw it actually.
Oh, that's a shame on you then for that one.
But I've seen Die Hard 1. I'm looking forward to watching it this Christmas. So that'll be fun.
It is a Christmas movie, I don't care what people say, because It's a Wonderful Life, same thing. It's like, if you're gonna say It's a Wonderful Life is a Christmas movie, like, it's only Christmas because it takes place in Christmas, just like Die Hard. Just like Gremlins, in fact.
Just
Yeah,
like Die
Gremlins is
Hard,
also a Christmas movie.
just like Gremlins. I mean, tangent, but I kind of think like it's fine to make Die Hard a Christmas movie because there's not really very many action movies that you can watch around Christmas that are set around Christmas. So, Die Hard set around that time. Yeah, it's LA, it's hot, but it's like fuck it, just let's watch Die Hard because we need an excuse to watch Die Hard.
You don't need an excuse.
You're right. You're right.
It
We
just
can just
becomes
we
tradition.
should just turn this podcast off and watch Die Hard.
Alright. Yeah, so, see, other than that, I played a little bit of, the new, Pentiment, game by Obsidian Games. Recently came on Game Pass and released, like, everywhere else. If you don't remember what this one is, this is that really interesting 2D, like, art style. It's like an adventure game. It almost looks like the Monty Python cartoon skits. It's like,
Well,
uh,
I think it's supposed to be modeled after like Renaissance painting and
art.
Renaissance art.
Actually supposed
Yeah,
to be real legit art, but no, it's just, I think, for pop culture reference, most people understand Monty Python. Uh, and it
uncultured
has
swine.
I spent a handful of, time on this game, all pretty early still. Uh, they It's really fucking wordy, dude. I mean, I know a lot of
Uh,
people are loving it, and I'm like, but the beginning portion is just a slog. They give you a
people
glossary. They're
people have been
giving you,
hyped
like,
for it.
Oh, dude, people love it. I mean, and honestly, it's I can see where it's going, but I haven't gotten to the point where it gets good. Like I was playing it for a while, lots of reading, lots of like, all right, trying to figure out, all right, I'm piecing things together. I'm like, okay, I think I know where this is heading. They do a lot of visual novel, choose your own adventure. Like I'm gonna build my character's backstory,
Hmm.
and you can see how I'm like, oh, this is probably gonna play out. There'll be scenarios like this where this will come in handy. Like, you know, I study like my hobbies in or like in college were to go to I studied religion or speech or something like that. I was really good at calculations and stuff like that. So like okay, depending on what I pick, I bet something's gonna happen where this will come in clutch later. Or I went to study in like Italy or in Germany. I'm like, okay, so I'm betting that those kind of backgrounds will also help out. And yeah, it's a lot of buildup. I just haven't gotten to the domino portion of it where you like start hitting it and watching all the pieces move. So unfortunately, I had to leave the computer for a bit, and then I thought I would have saved because I thought it would have auto saved, and apparently it didn't.
Ah,
I was already a couple scenes over, like new areas. I
yeah,
made a bunch of choices, personal choices for my character, and then when I went back, it rebound everything, and I'm like, oh man, I just didn't feel like having to go through all that again. I
man,
mean, it
that
wouldn't
is like the
probably wouldn't have
worst
taken too
thing.
much longer if I just hammered on the buttons and remembered my exact choices, but still, it was just like it was kind of deflated me a little bit. I'm like, all right, I'll get back to this game later. It has a lot of potential, um, but it also has a lot of fucking reading. If you,
Yeah,
it's just like,
this is a
yeah,
game that's been on my radar. Not really because I like saw the trailer and really was like, oh, I really want to play this just out of my own mind, but just because of what everyone's been saying about it, it's like, okay, this looks like a cool thing to try at least. So I do want to give it a shot. I haven't had too much time to play games because there's a lot of stuff out right now, but I'm looking forward to trying it. I like to be able to. This game seems like a game would be good on the Switch or I guess on a Steam Deck if you're lucky enough to have one of those. Um, it seems like kind of a low intensity, low graphics intensity game that'd be good on the run. Like, do you get that vibe from it, or do you think it's probably better on a
yeah,
PC?
it's pretty much because it's a lot of reading.
Yeah.
It's not action oriented, so it makes it a lot. I mean, honestly, it'd be perfect for mobile. Just your cell phone
Yeah.
for that matter. I mean, I know this is one of those games that I think is going to be like critics are going to love, and then gamers might fall somewhere in the middle. You're
Mm,
either going to love it or hate it. I
they
think
they kind of yeah.
uh,
Okay.
that's just my hunch on that so far. I know I've seen some critics reviews just give it like outstanding, like just wonderful reviews. Um, but yeah, it's I don't know. It seems like it'd be fun. I see all the gears turning, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, this is if it falls into place like I think it is, this is gonna probably be really good."
Right.
Probably.
It just takes a minute to
Uh,
get going. Okay. Well, that's cool, man. I'm gonna try to play it, but there is a lot of other stuff. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna try to get at least a couple hours on it because I think it's gonna be worth it to talk about it for Game of the Year stuff.
sure. Yeah.
So there was
I agree with you on that.
one more game I think that you had on the list.
Yeah, I started playing it's an early access game. Xbox calls it game preview, but it's the uh, Ghostlore is what it's called,
Okay.
and it's an action RPG, kind of a isometric 2D style, and similar to Diablo or uh, like Bastion or something like that. It's just you have that angled camera. The art is kind of it's kind of like the older pixelated art style, and you have a couple classes to pick from, and you're just murdering monsters and getting loot. Uh, and like I came into this not really knowing too much about it, and so I'm thinking it was mostly fantasy. I ended up picking, I think it was a sentinel, which is just kind of like a hunter. I had a bow, and I one of my abilities is to like summon animal friends. So I can either have like a murder of crows, or I put my points into getting a panther. So and then I just quickly upgraded my ability to get as many of them as I could. So I'm rolling around with like 5 of them in my party.
Cool.
Kind of killed all like the difficulty in the game as I'm hitting things with a bow, and then my panthers just roll up and all of them at point blank.
Super
Um,
powered.
what are you talking about, man? It's just rolling with the posse. Uh,
Just you and the
it's
boys.
it's not a bad game. I'm having a good time with it. It's what I actually was surprised is when I went to the hub area, their hub zone. I'm pretty sure it's in Singapore, and I was not expecting that because I like the main city portion. There's the Singapore I don't know, lionfish, that statue.
Oh, okay.
Uh, yeah, it's like a lion head body of a mermaid like fish. So like okay, and so it has to do with like being in like Southeast Asia. I was like, oh, that's neat. And the kind of concept is you're going in from like I don't know, the way the city looks kind of looks like maybe early 1900s. You know, you have some cars, but they don't look like modern cars, and you have some older looking street lamps. Uh, but yeah, you're going around a modern setting, but then you end up fighting these spirits or whatever that cross over through portals into our world, and you're
Okay.
just kind of clearing things, grabbing, loot and doing fetch quests. And I played enough of it to enjoy my time with it. I'm really curious about it though because it's touting up to 4-player split screen, I thought, and
Okay.
like that would be really cool to be able to play that with. But it's only local co-op from what I've seen. I haven't seen anything
Ah,
about online co-op.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so I mean, I remember playing Torchlight. I like that a lot. This unfortunately does not have as crisp art style as Torchlight does. That's one of the things I really liked about Torchlight. The art styles all is it's just fine. The sound, the music, the background music is good. It's just it's almost a little too pixely, I guess is the best way for me to put it. The
So
map detailing, because
does
it's kind of
it
hard.
get kind of muddy?
Uh, it's it's not as crisp as I'd like it to be, and also the terrain itself, because the way the map is laid out is a little more jagged. You can easily get caught on terrain corners when you're doing like when you hug a map and you're clearing out a certain area, because
Hmm.
sometimes you're going like, oh, go behind these trees and see if I can find any hidden items, and it's literally me just being stuck on a 90-degree right angle bend because my character isn't comfortably walking around it. I was using a controller, just an Xbox controller for this, and it's one of those things that I think you need to take time to map it yourself, because while the basic mapping was fine, there was just a lot that was really janky about it. Um, I would find myself firing my bow in the not the area direction I'm pointing my thumbstick in. Uh,
Ah,
I didn't like the fact that I don't know, just it wasn't as responsive as I would like it to be. And for some reason, my brain, I kept on trying to use my D-pad for certain menu items or like certain options, and then I'd just be pounding my remedy potions or something like that. I'm like, oh shit, you know.
ah,
Uh,
kind of
but
overusing
I
them.
just yeah. Well, I mean, luckily they were pretty generous with it, so like I said, the difficulty just really wasn't there. I think. But this is also early access kind of game, so they have
Oh,
plenty of time to polish it more. Uh, and they had quite a bit of it. It's like I'm honestly, like I said, overall, despite me complaining about it, I still had a fun time. I think I think if it has a story, then I would really like it. They kind of hint at a story, and that when the characters talk, there's a still image of their portrait as they're talking. I like the art style. Like that looks fine. So I'm hopeful, I guess. I'm optimistic about this. I'm usually not a loot fan. That was my problem with Diablo 3. Was just it was boring as hell, in my opinion. The gameplay controller wise, the console adaptation was awesome. Just the actual moment to moment gameplay, like there was no story, and I couldn't get motivated. I
yeah.
really liked Torchlight. It looked good. It was fun to play, but just playing just to get loot, I I can't get beyond that. At
There's
least that's why when you
there's
people
got
make
to
fun of
be there's got to be a story to hold like as the glue to hold the whole thing together because you got to have a reason to go from one thing to the next.
I
At
mean,
least eat something
people may
thin
bash
even.
Borderlands, but I think Borderlands has had a great enough story for it was funny. It kept you interested enough. It may not have been always riveting, but still, it had enough threads to really motivate you from going to point A to point B.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
so yeah, I mean, but no, Ghostlore, I enjoyed my time with it. I think the controller needs to be remapped. I have not taken the time to look at what my optimum settings would be, but just out of the box, like it did the job. I just wish it did a better job. But the game, it's the actual moment to moment gameplay seemed pretty cool, and they had quite a few different classes of people. I thought I read somewhere that you're supposed to be able to multi-class as well,
Oh wow.
which I hadn't gotten far enough in that. So I'm like, that would be really eye opening. I think that'd be really neat to do.
That would add a
Uh,
whole another dimension of gameplay for sure.
and they have this whole sub like grid game of you get like ruins essentially, and you have you put in like a base rune, and then you're overlapping, you're sliding other runes into that. It's like the suitcase scene from Resident Evil 4. You know, like okay, you gotta fit all these things in here, and your space is limited. But as you level up, they start unlocking more spaces for you to to slot your runes in, and you have it's just like you're eventually being able to get stronger, and yeah, they have all the right foundation. So I think this game will be pretty solid. Um,
Just gotta give it time.
yeah. So if you're like I said, if you have Game Pass, for sure give it a shot. It didn't take that long to download, and so far it's been fun. I've only done a couple missions into it, but I'm probably gonna play a bit more of this because it's just like it was just really chill. Yeah.
Cool. Very good. So I think that was it for the games you had. So I finally got a chance to play Bayonetta 3. I've played about 6.5 hours of it, and from the looks of it, I don't want to know exactly how long it is to beat because I'm okay with not knowing. So if you find out, don't tell me. But from the looks of it, from the map, they kind of give you. It looks like I'm about a third of the way through, not quite half of the way through, maybe even less than a third, but that seems to be about where I'm at. Um, Bayonetta 3 is a good game. Bayonetta 3 is, for what I've played of it, it is good. Um, it's been 8 years since the last Bayonetta was released. Bayonetta 2 came out in 2014. I could not believe that it had been that long, but it came out way back then. Um, I recently beat Bayonetta 2. I kind of rushed around and finally got that beaten a couple weeks ago, right before Bayonetta 3 came out. And it was a good game. I really enjoyed it, but you could kind of see plenty of places where more money would go a long way. Like they definitely had the bones of the game in order, and they had enough cutscenes and stuff like that. But there's a lot of still shot cutscenes where the camera's kind of moving over a still image, sort of anime style, and they're just voice acting, which was fine. But the new Bayonetta, but in Bayonetta 3, all those times where that would be the case, they have fully animated scenes going on. That and like they've expanded the battle system, the whole like the gameplay system itself. They've kind of taken a couple things away on that L button, and instead of the L button doing kind of just one thing, the L button instead, like it used to just be like a power move, just like a boom. But now it kind of opens up a different kind of power move that sort of becomes its own set of rules and kind of its own game in and of itself, which is really cool. The characters are good still. Enzo is still funny. And gosh, I can't think of their names, but the original characters are all still good. there's a new character that's been introduced, and she is really annoying for the most part. So I kind of see what they were trying to go for. They're going for like an 18-year-old girl that is very young and dumb, and also important to the story. And it's just like she's just like 70% bad and about 30%, and that's probably being generous, good. Like just the quality of the stuff that she does. It's just sort of, it's like there's a lot of antics there. It's like, okay, you want to add a new character, that's fine. But if you're going to add a new character, you got to keep them on a short leash. They've got to do what they have to do and not really anything more. In the next game, if there's a Bayonetta 4, you can bring that character back and you can you can give them more leeway, but they're not really doing that with this one. But it's fine because she's not in it too much. Bayonetta herself looks a little different. Of course, it's probably, with upgrades and stuff, they probably had to kind of do what they had to do with the model. I'm sure, but it's fine. Like all the way around on that point. The weapons are like, there's not as many weapons, I don't think. I've only gotten, I think, 2 main. Like there's the initial guns they give you, and then I've gotten a second like big gun, which plays totally differently and is really cool that you can like that you've got both of those. But I think they're going to give me at least 2 or 3 more pairs or sets of guns. So that'll be cool to have. But Bayonetta voice acting, I think that it's probably about 10 to 15% worse. Not that that's really bad, but I forget this actor's name. Jennifer Hale, is that right? Yeah. Jennifer Hale is great. She's fine, and if I'm not really thinking about it, I don't really even notice it. But for all of the strange things that Helena Taylor has done, and rest in peace her career in video games, but she did have a little bit of that. Something about her voice is just a little bit more Bayonetta than Jennifer Hale, and I really don't think that it's a matter of like getting used to it, because Jennifer Hale is doing a fantastic job. She's doing a really good job, but like just there's about like 10-15% of the time where you're just like, Helena Taylor would have put a little bit more realism in that line, and it's a bit of an intangible. I'm sure people would argue with me that I'm just kind of like imagining it, but I think it's there. That being said, Jennifer Hale is doing a fine job, and if I don't like just think about it too hard, then I don't really even notice it. But the enemies are good. The story seems to be a bit more, to have a little bit more oomph than the previous 2. I understand a bit more of what is going on and what we're trying to do here. But yeah, it's good. I'm just amazed that like it can be, 8 years later. That's probably the biggest thing, is that you start this game and they really don't feel like they've missed a beat. It's just straight back into that Bayonetta wackiness. They don't really try to, like, a lot of times when you have things like this that have been on hiatus for so long, you'll have a game that is like the old games, but it's not really an advancement in the series. It's like this Bayonetta game feels like Bayonetta, as you remember it, brought into 2022 with like all the upgrades and in game mechanics and how all that stuff works, with everything that made Bayonetta like work in the past. and the story just being so wacky. Like they hit that. Like it's like it really does feel like Bayonetta 2 ended, and then 3 years later, this game came out, and they just started working on the script like immediately. It feels that way. So I'm really proud of them for that. Overall, so far, I think this game is about an 8. Um, and that's not really saying that it's really making any mistakes. I kind of think that um, I kind of think that Bayonetta is just. It would be really hard to make it a 9 or a 10 with what Bayonetta is to me. But I think it's a solid 8 so far, and I'm looking forward to playing more of it. There's one part where they shift you away from being Bayonetta, and you're her friend, and they totally change the style of the game up to be a completely. It's like a instead of being like in a 3D world, you're in a 2D uh, kind of platforming scenario, and you're kind of sneaking around as a spy, and it's some of the same mechanics but not all the same, and you're like weaker, you have different kind of stats and stuff, but you have different strengths as well, and that was a really cool touch. It looks like there's going to be several more missions like that sprinkled throughout, that definitely break up the gameplay in a good way. But yeah, I'm looking forward to playing more of it. I think I might talk about it one more time on this cast. I don't know how much I'll have left to say because I have said a lot already. But I'm about to go on vacation, so I'm gonna take my Switch and try to play it a bunch, on vacation, or as much as I can. But yeah, it's good. It's good so far.
All right. Well, speaking of voice actors that switched, I actually decided to watch uh what I said I wouldn't watch, but I ended up watching season 2 of The Shield Hero. Uh,
Um,
yeah, I
yes.
found out they have it on Hulu, and it was an English dub. And currently, it was one of the few things that I hadn't watched, or I wasn't in the middle of watching with my wife. And so when I'm stuck on the sofa and my little one, my youngest one, is taking a nap on me, I can't really do much else. So yeah, I ended up powering through the Shield Hero season 2,
So I think I got it.
which
I think I got to about episode 6 of that. So
okay,
I'm gonna. I mean, I'm gonna spoil that up to this point. So if you're really into the Shield Hero season 2, I'm gonna spoil some stuff a little bit just to kind of get the conversation going. So this is your warning. So where I left off, they had killed the turtle and then gone inside of it, and then they met somebody inside of it, and they were having a race with them, and they tricked, and that guy went one way and they went the other, and they thought they were going to lose, but they actually ended up going to the right spot, and that is pretty
yeah,
much what I remember.
okay. Yeah, it's so I feel like I don't know, it's like a weird side story. The whole bit, like I feel like they have no idea what, like, we need to make filler because it felt like very forced and contrived. Like we
Which
don't really
part?
know what we're gonna do. The main story is kind of not. The main story is kind of garbage. So let's try to do something else to occupy your time and make you forget about this. And we need to make these people like level up in a certain way. So that's kind of how it was. It's like they did the turtle bit. Shortly after where you are, in the next episode or two, uh, they end up getting in this isekai. They get isekai'd again. Um, so they get sent to a so the other team that they're racing against, they were actually heroes from a different world that were trying to mess the main guys up in the end of season 1.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, we have to help the waves. So if you guys die, then we'll be safe or something. And the whole villain, like mastermind, he was just stupid.
Are you
uh,
talking about the Pope?
No, no,
The,
no. Oh, the pulp was better in season one than this turd in season two.
uh,
He's this guy, the guy in season two. He's like, he was the one who originally aggravated the turtle to wake up, and they chase after him. He's some guy with glasses, and he's part of the. He's a
yeah.
different type of. Instead of having the four heroes, they have like the seven heroes or something because they all have weapons. Like holy, they have special weapons that essentially make them. The weapons choose them, and therefore that's what they are.
Okay.
But yeah, so the first like they follow him into this other area, and then the next thing you know, they're in a old style Japan setting. So like feudal Japan kind of land where all the buildings are look like that, and uh, yeah, it's just Raftalia turns into a Tanuki essentially, or more or less. She has like Tanuki ears and tail, kind of, and
As opposed to
uh,
her.
Philo Philo doesn't have her chocobo like that bird. Her version, it doesn't exist in that world, so she turns into like a smaller singing bird, that can fly.
So they can sell more
So
toys. Yeah.
yeah, so like you're like they adapt to their settings because like since they don't exist in that world.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
So
it was just
so
kind of meh.
yeah. So like that's kind of why I bounced off of it because season.
I told you before you even started season one. I'm like, dude, it's not worth it. And then here I am watching season two.
Fucking hypocrite. Season one, at least at the start of it, had a really good kind of promise. It was different than a lot of other like shonen type stuff. I mean, it's still kind of similar, but like him being so weak and not being able to like fight like exactly, be like an offensive powerhouse and having to think and stuff like that. All that stuff was really interesting. And then slowly season one sort of it devolved and sort of just started spinning its wheels. And then in season two, I was just like, this is just going to continue. He's not even trying to get. I feel like he wasn't even trying to get home anymore. Like it wasn't even. It just like the. It just felt like another guy in that fantasy world. He's not like a dude from our
Yeah,
world trying to
it
make it in that world.
it always bothered me that I don't know, that the four heroes all look at themselves as like I am the main hero, and then we're never gonna work together. Oh yeah, and we all get along, but because you're the shield hero, we're just all gonna dump on you. And
You're the shield
there
hero.
was no, especially after the events of season one and stuff like that. You're like, no, we're too butthurt because our pride got damaged because you're strong, you're better than us, and now we have to hate you out of principle. I don't know, it's just
The
it.
story just goes where like they're just steering it where it's easiest to animate for and to
He
stretch
has
out.
to be alone, is what it is. Is he's not allowed to have friends, and he's not allowed to have. He can only have his
Reptalia.
harem companions. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And that and it is just a freaking harem. With like that yeah, it's irritating. So
yeah.
that's why I dropped it and I'm sorry that I was thinking about maybe trying to jump back in on it. Whenever you were like, "Oh, I watched all of season 2." I was like, "Well, maybe I can finish it up because I don't know how many more episodes there are up that
No, totally not worth it, man.
nope, not
And
worth it."
it's wide open for season three, and I hope that never comes out. Yeah, it
Well,
was like I said, it was there. Netflix. I'm like, you know what? It's really easy to watch this. Why not?
we can only hope.
And
We can only hope.
yeah, so but yeah, it's that one totally not worth your time. So PSA, like, just don't watch it. Uh,
All right. Do you wanna do some more of yours or do you want to do mine?
well, is no, I'll let you. You got a big one, so I mean, you made big steps on this one.
Yeah, I did. So I completed up to how much they've released of Attack on Titan. 87 episodes. I did not realize, because I didn't want it spoiled for me, but I did not realize that Attack on Titan is not actually done yet. I thought that it had gone through its two parts and that it was done. So I was watching up to about, 80, 82, 84, somewhere in there. And I was like, if this ends in the next 3 episodes, it's going to suck really bad. Like there's no way they're going to end this well. So as it gets up to like episode 87 and finishes, I was like, okay, there's going to definitely be another part. Um, so there's going to be a part 3 of Attack on Titan. I think they're on episode. They did 16 episodes of this final season, and so far, and they're probably going to do 8 more, I guess, to make it an even 24. So it's a full normalized season. Anyway, I'm fucking tired of the show, man. Like, it's good. It's well made. The ideas that were introduced, especially in the first season, and then kind of throughout, are good. They're like really good ideas. But the story, while it's okay, the most of the characters are really good, but the story itself, I kind of feel like it's sort of all over the place. It's like dragging you around so that you don't guess what's going to happen next, and filling with surprises. Um,
I hated Aaron. I really did. The main character, you're supposed to like. I can see why so many people went to Levi because they're like, he is at least a little bit better than Aaron because he's just.
so
I just
Aaron
it was.
Aaron is shit, is horse shit for the first 2 seasons for sure. And in season 3, he kind of becomes like aware of not being a complete idiot and does some pretty decent stuff. And they really just barely get him to a workable point to make season 4 make sense, because season 4, yeah, sorry for spoilers if you haven't watched Attack on Titan, but season 4, he's badass. Like, starting out, it's like, okay, this is the Aaron that we always wanted. The guy that's like fucking going into the foreign city and fucking shit up and fighting these people in their home territory, who's got a plan, who's like cut his own leg off and lived as a ex-war veteran in order to figure out what's going on over there. That there's a lot of cool stuff with that. And then they kind of hold that, and it's okay. He's definitely better than he was. He's definitely better than he was in those first 3 seasons.
I gave up. I do love the big reveal though, like season 2 or whatever, when when you find out who the guy, like who the Titans were that broke the wall and all that, and they're like, and it's just literally a panning camera shot. The entire group goes left, and a couple of people stay behind on the right, and you're like, yeah, it's us. And you're like, wait, and then you're like, and the camera just keeps on going. You're like, my wife and I are like, wait, what? Did they just is that just how they we heard that right? We rewound it. Yeah, that's totally it. They just nonchalantly, yeah, dude, it's us. Like,
well,
you know,
they kind of alluded to Reiner, at least, because the night before they did that, Reiner made some weird moves with one of the other ones that, like, he like wouldn't let go of somebody, and I was like, well, Reiner's definitely something, and they kind of alluded to it, but yeah, I do remember.
In my brain, I thought it was Pixis. I thought Pixis, the old man, was gonna be the giant one.
Oh yeah.
Before it came out, because I'm like, they were similar in look than, because a lot of my friends were like, oh no, dude, you can totally tell it was those two guys because of the way they look. Like, no, you couldn't. Okay, that's a lie. You are lying. Like, it's just like you probably said you figured out the end of the Sixth Sense before it happened too. But that's a lie.
Like Reiner looks kind of pretty similar.
Cranky. Yeah.
Pretty similar, but in your first watching the show, I guess after Annie comes out as being one, you could start to put, and you were really watching and going back, you could put two and two together on that. But you hadn't seen Reiner, in a long time, so or at least his Titan in a long time, and he wasn't really that important of a character. So that'd be pretty hard. You'd have to be watching and paying pretty close attention. But what's his name? Bertholt. That's kind of a weird name. He
There are
looked
too many
nothing
difficult
like his
names to
Titan.
remember.
He
I'm
looked,
terrible with names normally.
yeah, but like he looked nothing like his Titan. His Titan was just a big bald dude, and he had hair, and their faces were totally different. You definitely couldn't tell that he was the giant, the big giant Titan. But yeah, I don't know. Like I'm definitely gonna watch it, when it comes out again. But it's good. I shouldn't shit on it so hard because it is a good show. It's doing a lot of things right, but dadgum, I'm just tired of it.
I like I said, I burnt out when they kidnapped Aaron, and was that before? Yeah, was it? And then was that before or after he started doing Titan form? I can't even remember anymore. But they're like, they were just like, "Come on, buddy, you can do it." And I'm like, I just don't care.
He was just
Like,
stupid. Like he just did
mhm.
stupid things, and he was such a like whiny brat. It's like, why is this guy? I guess he's not really the
I'm
star of
not
the
actually a
show.
big fan of a lot of those characters, to be honest. They're just all.
Hey, guess what? All the best characters have black hair. Mikasa, Levi, and Loki. And like the Loki like best character is the cart. Like the cart titan. I forget her name. The actual girl that pilots it, but the cart titan has a really cool like like weird voice. And the cart titan always does the right thing. It does. It's not the most powerful, but the cart titan is smart. It always like does the tactically correct move for the situation. It may not always be the best situation that it's in, but it always does the right thing. And I'm like, dang, that is such a cool character that it's just like this is a situation and it just does okay, you would run away now because you're outgunned, or you would sacrifice yourself because that's the only thing that you have left to do in order to like achieve your goal. Um, but yeah. So
No, Mikasa she was always fan favorite. I think I bought a can of coffee and it came with your choice of like lanyard pendants, and so I got one. I hung it on my backpack as my like low key like in the beginning of that, and I got quite like a lot of people pointed that out in the middle of nowhere. I'd be like just at a checkout line, and then the person behind the register would like Ina, like Mikasa. I'm like yeah, cool,
yeah.
like. I forget I even have it on there, and they'll make a comment. I'm like, and then look, I'm like, oh yeah, totally forgot that was there.
Mikasa song, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, she was,
She's
her
good.
love for Aaron was just that was the one thing that just ruined her character because she was like like just that beating that drum to the end of time, and
She's OP, and so is Levi, and they're both really cool characters, and they're sparingly used. They're only when they have a chance to be cool or say something cool, that's when they use them. And everybody else they use to just like spray dumb dumb shit that they're doing. Anyway, I'm done talking about Attack on Titan. It's okay. What
thank
else have you watched?
Oh man, I just remember when Aaron got his like when he first gets eaten, and you're like, "Oh man, did they just do that?" And I was hoping that like that would have been much more. That would have been way more interesting if they just carried on the series without him. Just that's it.
That'd have been a
Who
bold
you
move.
thought the main character was, they are no longer there.
That would have been
Um,
bold for sure.
okay. I've okay, so I started watching a comedy called Bocchi the Rock, and it's a uh yeah, it's about a girl who is an introvert, and in middle school, I think it's supposed to be in middle school. She kind of wants to make friends, and she doesn't know how to. She sees a band that talks about how they were a bunch of nobodies, and now that they're super popular, but it was the band that helped bring them together and helped make them kind of stand out. And so she's like, "Oh, Dad, you have your guitar? Can I use it?" And so it shows her trying to practice learning how to play guitar, and then it fast forwards 3 years, and she's done with middle school, and she's still like in that room by herself. But now she plays really well, uh, and it's her making friends and joining a band, but still being super super introverted. Uh, and it's really funny because they draw her with the most like Shin-chan like squiggly drawings. When she starts freaking out, she doesn't know how to handle a situation. So she just her art style goes to shit. She's just like melting down in the middle of a conversation. Her eyes start looking both ways like a chameleon, and it's pretty funny. Uh, it makes me feel. It reminds me of kind of the awkwardness of the main girl from uh Watamote, which is the English name was like something like "It's not my fault," or I don't have any friends, or "It's not my fault I'm not popular." And that one was critically acclaimed for being just really awkward as well, because it almost hit too close to home. It's just like yeah, if you want to watch a good cringe comedy, that's the Watamote is a good one. But Bocchi the Rock, it's solid. I like it. It's the music is okay, um, but yeah, it's just uh, it's kind of like a if you like any type of one of those music, girls playing a band like K-On or something like that. It's kind of in the same vibe. Granted, K-On's much more lighthearted and it's just a slice of life thing. But this is it looks good. It sounds all right, and I'm probably gonna watch more of it. This one's only currently subtitled. So, but it was interesting enough and funny enough for me to continue watching this slash reading this. So, as much as I state here that I usually do dub, this is one I'm going through subbed. So,
I'm glad that you have dipped your toe back in the sub the sub pool for a little while.
I do it. The stuff I'll end up watching. It depends if it's worth actually mentioning here or not, because
Yeah.
there's a couple of them. Well, like the Emissary Shadows is the other one I've been doing. Which I've mentioned before, and that one's still really solid. So, the last thing I've been watching was I finished the first half of Summertime Rendering, and that one is that's all they have in English so far. I'm not sure when they're finishing the second half, but in Japanese, I believe it's already all finished. It's like 20. It's like the 24 episode arc. They've only done like 13 episodes in English so far. So this one's really weird because it has right from the jump. The moment I started watching it, I realized what this looks like within the first minute. I'm like, just a really quick glimpse. Guy's on a ferry boat, and he's talking to somebody who's in a swimsuit, and they have some weird artifacting going on, like some weird glitchiness, and it was just like, I have no idea what's going on, but within the first minute, I'm like, okay, this is going to be some sort of weird creepiness, and it's going to be some sort of time travel, something along those lines. And I pretty much hit those nails on the head. There's a few anime that I've seen that like take place on an island, and then of course that's a good, you're isolated, so why not have weird, creepy stuff going on? Or
Yeah.
anywhere like in the middle mountains or something like that, and
It's
that's kind of
always
what they
some
do
kind
here.
of seclusion in order to have the mystery, or else, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so, this one kind of had that. I think it's Front Wings Island. Uh, was another anime that had to do with like a weird like timeline and time travel. It kind of it reminded me of that. It reminded me a little bit of Air, which was also uh like that was like an early key animation. The guys who do Clannad. Um, it was that it was a weird one. And then was also another parallel world slash time jump type of thing, and just all over the place. But yeah, this is seems like a normal kind of bit, but like they quickly say, "Hey, I'm here visiting after a couple years. I'm in Tokyo for high school, but my friend died, so I am coming back to my home island." And instantly, like certain red flags are coming up, like, okay, yep, this is most definitely going to be a time thing because they're just going to they're going to change this and this and this. You can kind of see it coming. Um, but yeah, then you realize there's a huge murder mystery involved, some weird monsters that are there. It's kind of like a body snatchers type of situation where it's hard to tell friend from foe, and that's half the mystery. But they go hard and fast into this, and it's nice. They're not spending the entire time twiddling their thumbs. They're pushing it kind of far, and I like it. It's I liked enough to power through like the first 13 episodes in a couple days. Uh,
I've
it
heard about this anime. I didn't know anything about it, but I just have heard summertime rendering good. Like I don't know why I have that connection in my mind, but I do. So I mean, it kind of makes sense that you would be able to go through it and enjoy it enough to kind of binge it a bit. But is it like well acted and like the
It
like well
it has
paced?
a kind of at the beginning, it's suspenseful. So I
Okay.
would recommend if kind of the way the anime Erased has that kind of suspense to it. I highly recommend that one too. That one's really up on my list.
It's more
That one also
pretty
has some
popular
time
one, yeah.
travel elements involved. They made a live action one too on Netflix. Haven't seen it though. Which seemed to had pretty solid English voice acting, or dub for Erased. So no, honestly, the animation quality is really well done. It has, uh, the storyline is interesting, and it makes you really interested to see how it plays out. Uh, yeah, like I said, I just finished episode 13, and I don't know when the next half is coming out yet, but it's being brought out by like Disney Plus. Disney Plus has started bringing out certain anime, but it's not. This is where it's weird. From everything I've seen, Disney Plus is bringing this out, but I don't think they're necessarily bringing it out here in the US under their Disney Plus banner. So it's not like you log on to Disney Plus and it's not there. There's not like not a new anime catalog, like, next to like The Simpsons or anything like that.
Do you think
So, but they're bringing this, and they brought over a handful of other anime already. Uh,
do you think that
but like
they're bringing it into like anime, sorry, bringing it onto a Disney Plus in Japan? Like they're
That's
paying.
what I was assuming. I was assuming that they're somehow backing it, like, and
Okay.
they're bringing it, like they're funding it that way. Uh, but honestly, I'm just watching it off of third party channels, because that's what I do, and I have no shame on that.
You're an old school anime fan.
I've I've paid my blood money for my VHS and my DVD collection. So yes, I pay my dues, and if it's something that's really good, eventually I'll end up owning it. Like, I'll own a physical copy later. But this one seems to be really good. I if you like a murder mystery, if you like anything weird, creepy, suspenseful, uh, totally right up there. Um, yeah, I really, if you like anything just remotely like that, it's a little bit gory from time to time. Nothing like too grotesque, just but also, it I don't know, there's some shock value in there. But
That's
so if
cool.
you can't handle that, then I recommend don't watching it. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's cool though. Like, so it's like rated like TV 14 or whatever.
Yeah, like I said, and I honestly say it's I would recommend people to watch that one. Like,
Okay.
I rarely be like, go out and watch this one, but like, no, man, if
Done.
any of those things sound up your alley, take the time, give it a watch. You can do it, you know, Japanese or in English. The
And
Japanese
still,
is
it's good.
completely finished.
Oh, okay.
Uh, or at least to the best of my knowledge, it should be. So I'm just resisting the urge to going out and doing that. But I might actually end up rewatching it again because my spouse hasn't seen this, and like, she'd probably be interested in it. That's what I did with Erased. I watched all of Erased by myself and went, "Okay, this is good." Now then, I rewatched it again with my wife. I'm
Yeah,
like,
I
"Yeah, this
know.
is
Yeah, you were telling me to watch Erased, and I want to get to it, but there's a lot of other stuff to get to.
so much anime, so little time."
So much anime, so little time. All right, so that's cool, man. I don't have anything else on anime to talk about or games. Do you have anything else you'd like to bring to the table?
No, that's it. There's probably something else, but my brain just is not working right now. So, I'll leave it at that. But yeah, I guess for everyone else, I hope everyone has a good Thanksgiving holiday. Whether you're working or not, I hope you're able to make the best of it. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's more or less just a good excuse to get some food in you. And yeah, happy birthday to anyone else whose birthdays are in around this time frame.
Yeah, and this you know, this past last Friday was Veterans Day. If I'm correct on in that, right? 11/11,
11/11. America celebrates Veterans Day.
Armistice Day.
Most of the world is Armistice Day, except for China is Singles Day because it's 1111, and all you're only lonely. Um, and
That's
then
four to
the
me,
hallmark.
but that's whatever.
So the hallmark holiday for Korea and Japan is Poki or Pepero Day because it's those pretzel sticks with chocolate on them. And so they're like, instead of celebrating Armistice Day, let's celebrate selling chocolate. You know,
Anyway,
so
chocolate's good too. But it was Veterans Day. Just want to say thank you to all those veterans that served. Very appreciative for your work and your sacrifice. And yeah, just want to say thank you. But
give them chocolate
I'll give you
next
chocolate
year.
next sometime. I'll give you chocolate. You already got my tax money. You're fine. Um, but sincerely, I really do appreciate that. And yeah, that's one of the many things I'm thankful for. And I'll be coming up on Thanksgiving, so just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving or whatever family time you're gonna get into. It's gonna be great.
Yep, enjoy some good eats. Thanks for all staying and watching, and yeah, till next time.
All right, we'll check you later. Bye.
Take it easy, man.
Sometimes I panic. And I have to double check that I definitely hit record. Even though I know I did, I just double check. So where should we get? All right, are you ready to get started?
Yeah, I'm just seeing where my hands are in this caption here. Yeah, just yeah. Okay, cool. That's safe.
Okay. All right.